Today, we have two very special guests joining us: founders, creatives, and mamas behind the incredible Instagram account Playroom. If you're a parent who's ever wondered how to create a more intentional, play based space at home or how to turn everyday moments into meaningful learning, you've probably already come across their inspiring content. Hey, Pam.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This whole concept is right up your alley.
I love this.
This
This
is
literally, I
Pamela's
went on their
gonna do.
page and I literally want to have another child just to like redo and do the whole thing, the whole playground experience.
Or I feel like even for your existing child, you're like, after this, she's gonna redo everything that she's like, that's it. She's so sold.
I love this. So the whole concept about it is, which is the philosophy is, if your child's entertained in a safe, educational, play focused space, then the parent has time for themselves. So it's like a win-win for the whole family. So we're gonna, dive into that with our guests, with Anne and Jodi in a few minutes. But why don't we start with our mother's moment?
All right, are you ready? I'm ready for mine.
Okay, tell me.
Okay. So this week, Victoria had, so you ladies know I have one child. She's 6 years old. Her name is Victoria. And this week she had her kindergarten graduation ceremony. And I was not prepared. I was like, I was trying to not cry the whole time, but I was crying in the car, like on the way.
With cap and gowns that just like.
I know, and it's been a big year for her. It's been a lot, and I don't know. I layered it with a lot of like personal, emotional things. But it was so cute because she had her little performance, and I'm totally gonna be a mom. I'm gonna give myself the space to do this. But you guys, she was in the front row, and she was in the center of the front row. And not gonna lie, like other kids were looking at her to follow like the next dance move, and she knew it, and she was like, There's one part where they're like, my hair's a little longer, and she was like touching the hair. She was like, yes, whatever. It was so beautiful, and I'm so proud of her. And it's the first time, obviously, for PK4 graduation, she was just like, I don't know what's going on. Why am I wearing this outfit? But for this one, now we're entering that age of like, she's
so she had two grads. She had a pre-K 4, and now she's having a kindergarten graduation.
Yes, and apparently there's no more graduations until 5th grade, which that's fine. Makes sense.
So Ford didn't have a pre-K 4 graduation. They're like, no, we do this in kindergarten.
Yeah, well, because it's the same school. This is like a different organization within the same facility. But she was like, oh my gosh, this is like it. Like, and so this morning I was talking to her because her last day of school was yesterday, and I was like, are you, how did you feel? How was your last day of school? Whatever. She goes, Mom, I was a little emotional. I kind of wanted to cry. I was sad because I'm going to miss my friends, but I'm excited that it's the summer, and I hugged my teachers so much, and I'm so happy that we gave them the Flanagan's gift cards. She wanted to buy them these restaurant gift cards, and it was so like it was so much. It was so elaborate for her, and she's there, like
she's big in her feelings.
She's big in her feelings and elaborate in her emotions, and it was beautiful. And so I'm just having a very proud mama moment.
It should be.
Yeah,
that's a good one. Love that.
Yes.
So my mother's moment is last night I allowed Ford to stay up and wait for me because usually he's asleep by the time I get home from work because I've been working late. So my son is just turned 5 in April. And he's in the stage where he's like so babyish for a lot of things, but like such a big boy for other things. So last night, I FaceTime with him before my last newscast, and I told him, okay, I'm going to be home, and you're allowed to wait for me in my room. We could watch like a little bit of a movie, and then we could get to bed, But again, usually he's asleep, so it's a big deal when he's allowed to stay up. And last night, I walked into my room, and he had decorated my bedroom with his little stuffed animals. I know, so cute. Okay. And he's like, Mama, close your eyes. So I walked in, I'm like, okay. And he had put like some like Hawaiian like decoration from his like end of the year Hawaiian celebration. He put some books, and he put like some dinosaurs in my nightstand. I shot a video, I don't know. He was just so cute and he was so small. He's like, okay, you got to get the popcorn now. So one and I made popcorn. No, he goes, wait, do you know how to make popcorn?
Valid question.
I'm not great in the kitchen.
Ford's already on it.
I'm like,
He's
I
like,
got it, babe. I got this. I can handle the popcorn. So I made popcorn. And then, it was such a cute moment. And then we cuddle and he fell asleep. But then this morning he was like, okay, Mom, can you stay in the car? And can I get out of the car alone to walk into my summer camp classroom by myself? I go, babe, I don't know if I like that. Like, I like getting off and I like giving you a hug and a kiss and I like walking you into your room. He's like, I did it one time in junior K with Dada. It's okay. I could do it. I was like, okay. And I was in a rush because I had to record this. So I'm like, I literally parked on the side, like right by his door, and he opened the door and he got his backpack. And then like some teacher came to get him. But it was like a very big boy moment. And the fact that he asked me not to get off, I was like, I still like got off really quick, gave him a kiss, whatever, really quick. And then he left. So it's cute. It's just to have like that cute balance where like at home, he still like wants to be cuddled and carried and, treated like a baby. And then in school, he's like, bye.
I'm a man.
Big boy. I know. It's so cute. So why don't we welcome Anne and Jodi to Motherish. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you. I'm so
Really excited to be here.
So Jodi, do you want to start with your motherish moment?
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to. So I have 3 kids. They are almost 12, 8, and 4. Boy, girl. And my daughter, the 4-year-old, learned how to ride a bike a week ago. So no training wheels. She just said, let go. And she's been off. And so it's not it's been kind of like something, not exactly a specific moment, but it's been all week on the mornings when I've been walking with her to school. It actually is me just running with her as she's flying on her bike. And I think just watching her as we get up to school, we don't live terribly far from school. It's a few blocks. But every time it was yesterday morning, every time she would see someone that was familiar, she'd just be riding her bike and go, hi, hi. So she just wants everybody to see her and everybody to know that she's riding her bike. And I think it's just a perfect example of her personality. She is an on-stage kid, and she's just so proud rolling up to school in pre-K 3, showing everybody that she can ride her bike. And it's really sweet. So it's exciting that she's so proud of herself.
I love that scene. When Ford learned, remember he was doing those tricks. He would lift his legs and then he would go to the side. And I'm like, can we just stay on the bike for a second, please? Stop with this stunt man.
She's been doing that too. She's been doing that too. I'm like, you just learned. And she hasn't fallen or anything. And she's just ready to do all the tricks. So we'll see what happens with that.
Listen, Lulu's always ready to take over the world. She's
so right.
I'm going to put my mind to it. I'm going to do it and I'm going to excel at it. And that's just who she is.
It is who she is. Yes. We have both of our daughters they're pretty much the same person. So
it's so cute. How about your mother's moment, Anne?
Yeah, so I have a pretty it feels on theme because I feel like there's this theme of our babies getting bigger and older and all of a sudden motherhood feels different, right? Yeah. So I have 2 kids. I have an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old and my son and my daughter. And it was last night, I was my husband's traveling, so I was putting the kids to bed, and it's all of a sudden bedtime routine. My son just does it. It's just he goes up, he's brushing his teeth, showering, getting changed, lotion. And then he's like, oh, I'm just going to read this book. Oh, I'm going to turn on the Audible and I'm going to listen to the story that I'm listening to. And I'm going to play solitaire in my room. And then I check in and I'm checking in now. It's it was a on-off switch. It used to be, let's cuddle, yes. Let's read these chapters, let's, oh, you want one more chapter, you want one more snuggle, you want this song, you want that, right? So many years of just a bedtime routine where I'm 100% driving that car. And then all of a sudden it was I went to check on him. He's like, I'm good, Mom. I'm listening to Harry Potter and I'm going to play solitaire.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, well, set a timer for like 10 minutes. I'm going to come back and check on you. 15 minutes later, the light's off. He's asleep.
His
he didn't ask me to tuck him in.
better than mine, 100%.
And I'm like, my baby.
I know, it happens so fast.
And I'm like, I'm proud, but I'm also like,
yeah. You mourn a bit, you know?
It's just like, I mean, I still do all the things with my daughter, but it just felt, I was like, whoa. And it just really, really hit me last night. Because it's not the first time he's really done that, but doing kind of solo bedtime with both of them, I was like, oh, wow, this is different. So,
wow.
Yeah.
I don't see that on the horizon with Victoria.
You never know. I just feel like it happens out of nowhere. Like it just one day, just like it occurs.
I know.
Okay, so let's dive into this topic because it's one that I love. And I actually love the story. I was looking at all the old videos when you guys were like, we never imagined that all this ideas that we had on paper or like on the computer actually turn into a reality. So Anne and Jodi are the geniuses behind Playrooms, which is a concept where they give, and more than just creating these amazing playrooms, they actually give parents like purpose to these spaces, and in a way that it benefits the child but also benefits the entire family. And I'm going to let them tell us a little bit about their story, but I feel like it became from a dream to like this actual reality where people are actually like on wait lists waiting to have them create and design these spaces for families. And I just love those stories, right? When you like are questioning yourself whether like, is this going to be, a reality? And then it turns into like something bigger than you ever expected it to be.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'll jump in and tell a little bit of our story, and then Jodi kind of interject along the way. But, when we started, we were both teachers. We were both in education, and we were actually on maternity leave at the same time. And I was like, Jodi, why don't we just start a business, right? Like just like we were sitting on her playroom floor. We had these newborns. We were nursing. We were just like,
and we were like just starting to hang out. This was not, we both admired each other at the school we were teaching. Like,
so you guys taught at the same school.
Crafts. But we taught at the same school. And so we had this professional teaching relationship, but we both really liked each other, like felt a lot of synergy and connection. And so, when we were literally 2 weeks apart with my second and Anne's first, and so we're like, oh, we're pregnant. Well, we should just hang out. And I felt like I didn't even hardly know Anne. And we were sitting down and we were nursing. We had these babies, like she said. And she's like, I think we should start a business together. And I was like, oh, wow, fast friends.
Well, and that's like that personality dynamic is pretty telling of the relationship, which is a great balance. But essentially, so we started ideating. We actually, I went back to work. Jodi had just made the decision to stay home with her second, and of course, I like threw a giant, pebble into a very calm pond and caused a lot of ripples. But we would like go to wine bars and like plan and like dream and kind of think about like what it could be.
We did coffee bars,
like coffee shops.
Wine bars.
Yeah, we should.
Yes.
Yeah. So we would just like get together over a glass of wine when the kids were in bed. Like we tuck them in and then run out. Then we try like different wine bars around the DC area, right? Like we just kind of wine bar hop and just dream. And then I was like, well, I'm quitting and I'm doing this 100% full time in August. And after the school year had finished, we just kind of dove right into it. We're feeling things out. But in December of 2019, we had committed to designing commercial spaces. Oh my God. We were like, we've done a couple residential spaces, but you know what? Let's design commercial spaces in December of 2019. And then we had several like, which at the time felt huge, like big contracts. And then March 2020 rolls around and everything fell through. Everything. We let every single contract that we had was commercial spaces, and we lost them all. And we were like, no. So we really had to pivot, and it was this big question of like, will people want this in their homes? Like, no, who knows the next time people, let alone people with children.
Was it always play areas? Like, was that always the idea?
It was always play areas through an educational lens, right? And sometimes we did a lot of work with physical therapists, occupational therapists, speech language pathologists, like children's services providers, and helping create really thoughtful environments for the kids that they serve to learn in and to kind of do their therapy in. So we did a lot of that. We did kind of play cafes. We did a couple of residential homes, but in December,
they were a little limiting. Like they weren't like what you see today, of course, on our Instagram feed. It was early on, there was a big organizational design focus, which was what people really, really wanted. But we were always struggling with this, like, but the organizational design isn't enough. Like there has to be more to be, and like we can offer so much more for these spaces. Yeah. And so we had this, I think, fear that, just individual families wouldn't have the appetite and really want to pay for the service, right? Like the service that we're providing. That isn't just an organizer coming in and organizing your toys, because there's so much more.
There was a post on your page that spoke to me very clearly, which is 85% of your child's brain develops before the age of 5. And play has a major role in that. That alone would be like, I would invest whatever it takes. For me, the development of my child's brain, I was so worried and concerned about exposing him to the right toys. And it's just, I was like, maybe I overthought it a little bit too much when he was younger. Then I figured out that they figure things out. But I do think that message and the importance of kind of incorporating play and purpose to the things that our kids were playing with was really, like a wake-up call, I think, for any mom.
I feel like, I'm kind of like waiting for the next part of this story, but like I feel like right during the pandemic, if anything, quite serendipitous, because I feel like people really started investing in their homes. I personally at that time was like, okay, how do I make my home a better place for my daughter, because we're not going anywhere, So how did that pan out?
Oh, it had a massive impact. And I'm going to even kind of shoot us further in the back before bringing us further in the future. But I remember really early on, before I had even like quit my job yet, or maybe it was very early. And Jodi was like, maybe we help parents by designing their playrooms. And I was literally like, no one's ever going to pay for that. Like, I was like, no way.
It's no one would ever. 100% conversation happened at my dining room table.
At your dining room table. So like fast forward, we were like commercial, because businesses, they'll invest, right? And then when the pandemic happened, we were like, how are we going to make this work? And we like hustled those first couple months, just trying to pivot and trying to get our name out there in a totally different market. But you're exactly right. Like the attention that people started paying to their homes and what it's like to really spend time in their homes with their entire family, with their children, and making the space really be of service to the family. Yeah. Was like a totally different conversation. And so much of our educational nerdiness, right, is exactly what you're talking about. 85% of brain development happens before age of 5. The amount of neuron growth and neural growth that happens before kids are 5 is insane. And all of it can be, like, kids learn through play. Right. And so, but it can feel like a huge, like you're saying, like a huge pressure for families of like, am I doing the right thing? Is it the right toys? Is it this? Is it that? And we do so much of that to ourselves. And that was really what was so motivating for us, is like, what kids need is they need an environment that's set up and ready to allow them to like play independently and play with their family. And the way that we do that is like, it's so much like setting up, it's just that thoughtful design of how a room can flow and support kids as they are learning and as they are growing and as they are changing over the kind of
By
years
the way,
of their life.
once Forrest started like walking, and maybe he was like 1.5 or 2, I used to love going to my friend's house who actually had playrooms that I knew was like a safe space that I could kind of just like not dump my kid, but yeah, pretty much dump my kid there. And I knew that they had all the toys and that they were not going to go anywhere. And so it kind of became like a, you know, like an attractive point for me to consider, okay, which home do I want to spend time in? Because I knew he was going to be safe and entertained, right? Because you want your child to learn to entertain themselves in a way that is like, I guess, beneficial for them as well.
Yeah, it builds up their stamina for focus, attention, all of those things. And there's so much that goes behind, like Anne was saying, like the materials that we're presenting them with, and also the amount of materials that we're presenting them with that can feed into stamina, independence. And when we design playrooms, and we spend a lot of time really refining our approach and considering how we do, you know, like what our go-to is for each design in each space. And it's through this balanced play design, right? The idea that we want to provide children with opportunities from all aspects of play, different types of play. Because if you're limiting children with only specific types of play, then they're limited, right? And so we want them to be able to explore and to have that free range really in with different types of materials, with different types of play, so that they are just exploring. And that's what play is. I mean, the children, play is not play unless they are the ones directing it, right? Like then it's somebody else's play, then it's somebody else's plan. And so school, right, is a little different. It's much different than free play and independent play, so that like children really are the directors in what they're doing. And that's just really critical for development.
What does a meeting with a parent look like for you girls? Like, what do you guys consider when it comes to like a child's personality, what age they're in, what do you help them like develop in the child? Like, what does that conversation look like when it comes to designing a room that's, you know, fit for that child?
Yeah, well, first, the kind of very first parts of the conversation or conversation throughout is kind of instilling this piece that I hear you keep mentioning of like, yes, we are investing in this space for our kids, but it is going to bring you as the adult so much peace in so many different ways. And so that is why our approach really is the way it is. So we want to learn about the family. We want to learn about the kiddo. We want to learn about where the room is situated in the home and how the family functions in the home right now. And if like there's any change, if something's not working, or if, you know, there's a dream about how things work in the home, right? And so we want to learn about the flow, like the everyday flow and function of the house, because that's something that drastically changes once we put one of our playrooms into a space. For an example is I was just talking to one of my clients and she was like, Anne, I know you said that my life would change when this came into our basement, but I had no idea what you meant. Like the kids wake up and go right downstairs to the basement and I don't see them until they come up for snack. And then later on, you know, they come home from school, they're right in the basement. So now we come up for dinner and we go right back down as a family. Like it almost changes kind of the way your house serves you and the flow of your day in your home, because it does take so much of that labor off of parents' plates. I have another family who they're like, we just put the kids' uniforms in the playroom before school so that they go right to the playroom, they put on their uniforms and they keep playing. Right. That. So it's like changing how people live in their home. So the first thing is like, I want to know how you live in your home now. And I want to like make some guesses, kind of knowing how your family functions about how we could even improve the flow in your home. The next thing I want to know is like about your kids, their interests. Yes. But when we're talking about kids age 0 to 10, we really have a very balanced approach. We want a little bit of everything in that room, or at least represented in the house, because kids' brains are really developing, their personalities are developing. So we don't know what their interests are. So we want a little bit of everything so they can explore. When we have kids 8 to 18, that's when we want to lean into their specific interests. So we want to kind of figure out like who's in the house. Is it a big age range? Do we have small age ranges? What's the general approach going to be? And then we also want to know, do the kids need any specific supports, or does the family need any specific supports? Do we have sensory needs? Are there learning challenges? Are there, do we have neurodivergence? Like anywhere, parents, kids, friends, neighbors, like, is there anything that we need to keep in mind that would allow for the space to better serve the family? And then we get into the aesthetics of like, because we want the adults and the grownups to love being in the space. And that was what we really found at the beginning, is like, people were like, I just want to close the door to my playroom. I never want to even look in there. It's terrible, because it's so overstimulating, the clutter and everything else. So what we want to do is design a space that's elevated for the adults and purposeful and beautiful for the kids, because as humans, we want to be in a beautiful space.
Yes.
So that's kind of the...
Do you do playrooms for 40-year-olds? Like,
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Wait, I need this.
Jodi, how important was, or I think what an advantage it was for both of you to have this educational background, right? Because I think there's so many interior designers and decorators, and whatever out there in the market. But I think this educational, so many years in the field, I think really gives you a great advantage to when it comes
it's
time
like a stamp of like.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's just really integral to who we are and what we do, right? It's human-centered design, right? Like, we're constantly thinking about the kids and the families. And we're really obsessed as well, just as moms, as parents, watching our kids play. Like, it's so funny. We'll come into work and we'll just share these moments with each other. Like, I have to tell you about this thing that Rafa was doing, or I have to tell you about this thing I noticed about the way Sebastian was playing with the magnetiles. And like, we're just like really obsessed about how kids play. And we, back to when we were teachers, it's interesting because we taught different ages. So Anne taught mostly early childhood, and I taught a lot of upper elementary, so 5th grade, and also 7th grade, and also 9th grade. So I have this kind of range of experience with older kiddos, and she has this really in-depth expertise with younger kiddos. And so when we were talking at the beginning, we were thinking about this whole journey, right? Like, and how kids grow, and how, like, what we were noticing in our classrooms with kids. So I think we've just always been obsessed about development, just really interested in it. And, it's just at the heart of everything that we do. And we love sharing these things with our team. And we have, folks on our team who are parents. Some have, are really their aunts, and they also, and some people don't have children, but like teaching them and sharing with them about play and all of this passion that we have, it just serves everybody really well.
Do you serve across the U.S.? Like, what's your setup now for anyone that's listening that might be interested in learning more of actually hiring you guys? How does this work?
Yeah, so we're located in the DC area, but I think about 95% of our clients are not located locally to us.
Wow.
So we work majority virtually. I'm actually in like this weird, very corporate feeling room because I'm in Connecticut right now. I got on a 5 a.m. flight up to New York. I'm going to walk a project site in like an hour. So, but yeah, we travel. We also work completely virtually. We work across the United States most often, but we do serve in some international families as well. So we are on a mission to change the way the world plays, because we know that it's going to make a difference for generations to come, but it's also going to just give so much relief to the caregivers who are supporting.
By the way, I know we listen, we don't judge, but every time I walk into a home and like the living room is like a, with a unplanned playroom, it breaks my heart because I know that there's no way that mom walks into the space and is like okay with this being her day to day, right? Like it honestly, like I know maybe the mom's happy, I don't know, but in my mind, I always have this empathy of like, oh my God, like I want to move everything into like redecorate her space for her, Again, we know that not everyone has, and I think the key here is that people think that, oh, I don't have the space for it. But actually you do have the space. It's just finding the right space to allocate that for your child. Now, what advice would you guys give if someone is considering like, okay, what should I have in a play area for my child? What should I not have? Just like the top 3 or 4 items or things to consider for these spaces that are beneficial and those that are not beneficial for our children.
I love that. Oh my gosh, Jodi, do you remember our 3 tips?
It is open floor, sort and store, less is more.
Oh, there you go. Okay, well,
I'm usually quite foggy in my 40s, but I got this one.
It's such a good job. So essentially, like if you have a dedicated space, it's about reclaiming adult spaces too. And also just like maybe you do need to have a set of magnetile because the play space is in the basement. Maybe you do need to have a set of magnetiles in the living room, but then you put them in a nice bin and put them in the TV, the credenza, and then we're done. But in terms of like, if you don't have a space or if you're just getting started, here are 3 big tips. Open floor, like the most important thing that you can have is to have space. So if you have a coffee table, put it in storage, move it, have it by your bedside try it out of the room, because just having that space is going to allow kids to build bigger and build more creatively and interact with the space in a different way. Do you want to do sort and store? Jen?
Yeah, sort and store is really just that we're using categories to sort types of toys that belong together to put them together. So we have found that like very, very young, if we have predictable just locations and also that things are grouped together, children learn really fast. Yeah. And so I would notice it when my kids were just crawling. They would know which bin to go to get their favorite toy because it was predictable and things were grouped together. So going off of Anne's kind of example of magnetiles, like we have a playroom, we have a grow playroom in our basement, and we have basements here. I know that's not the case in Florida, but we have a family room, and our kids are still playing in family room, in our family room, because they're not always going to be going down to the basement. That is where our kitchen is, but we have a bin for magnetic tiles, a bin for vehicles, a bin for Lego. Open-ended toys work really well for, I think, many, many families. And those are the toys that my kids play with all the time. And we have a bin also for musical instruments, but they are in predictable spaces and they are in bins that the kids can access that are in a predictable place. And it just makes so much easier. You can clean up as a grown-up because, let's be honest, sometimes you are the one cleaning up. And then you also can be there to guide children in the cleanup, and they know. And you can use the guiding questions like, well, where do we put all the music toys? Can we find all the music toys? And all of those things also are really rich and can reinforce things like schema development and all this. Everything is so layered and everything is really purposeful behind that. Like, it's not just about having a space that looks nice. It makes sense and it makes play easier, which ultimately is like the goal, right?
So like 2 weeks ago, I cleaned some baby toys and I placed all the dinosaurs, I don't know.
Yes.
25 dinosaurs. He knows exactly every single dinosaur that's there, that's missing, and the one that he still wants. So like I'll go on whatever app and I'm like, okay, I'll get you a dinosaur. Which one do you want? And I'm like, that looks familiar. Don't you have that one? He's like, oh no, that's the blue Raptosaurus, whatever. I don't have that one. I have the red Raptor. I'm like, okay. And then he'll go to the bin and he'll open it. He's like, yeah, this is the one I have. And it looks exactly like it, except it's like blue instead of red, you know, like. But
because they know, and if we help them by sorting them by category, it'll just reinforce that knowledge versus that catch-all toy bin of our childhood, right? Of like
the toy box with the big heavy lid. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So if we sort them in smaller categories in specific spaces. And then the last one is less is more. And that's really for us about like having anywhere between 3 and max 8 different toy bins out at any specific time. And everything else is in a storage space, in a closet, under the bed, like somewhere else that isn't as easy to access, because a lot of times clutter happens when kids can't, like, they see all the clutter, they see too many options, and they can't get started.
Right.
It's that executive functioning that is so critical to every single task that we do on into adulthood, and just minimizing the number of things that kids have access to at any given time helps kids start playing and clean up, which is huge.
I love that. I also I'm surprised how easy it becomes for them to let go of things if they learn to do it really early on. So like every once in a while, I'll be like, okay, which were the baby toys, right? Like which are the toys that you're not playing with anymore? And he'll be right away, he'll be like, oh no, I'm done with it. I'm the one that had something struggles. I'm like, are you sure you don't want this plane anymore? You used to love planes. Like, are you over your plane like stage? Yes, but he has no trouble letting go. He's like, no, I'm over that. And right now it's all about dinosaurs, Legos, Hot Wheels. He's like goes back and forth. Hot Wheels, you know, those 3 bins are like consistent. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. And then whenever we go buy more toys, they're usually fall in those 3 categories. Everything else, he's kind of like, let go, you know? So it's been helpful to go through that cleaning up process with him as well. Involve him, you know, to like get him involved in that.
Yeah. And you can normalize it. Yeah. And using it as a filter so that it's proactive, right? Like thinking about what we're bringing into our homes as you're saying, but even from the beginning, like we don't need tremendously large toy collections. It is about the intention behind the type of material that we're purchasing. So like the things that you named are really, they're open-ended toys. These aren't toys that, do kind of, we call them one and dones, where it's like, it makes a bunch of noise. You see this a lot in some baby toys or toys for early toddlers, where it's like this one thing and then, kids might play with it a little bit differently. But when you bring in Lego and magnetic tiles and like these building toys, and then you bring in small world toys, right? Like the dinosaurs or the people figures or other animals. And I like playing with them, but I also like playing with this idea of like very small animals and then the bigger animals, right? And then kids can build, like they're creating these really sophisticated play stories, and they can really become so engrossed in their play, and it's so cool. And we want to be able to provide that space for them to do that.
I bought Ford a wooden like tippy, like just like a little, is that what it's called? Teepee? It's like a little tent. Yes, like a small tent that I could put in my room or his room, and we actually just move it. Like, like 3 wooden sticks, and it has the little things. Very easy but I love that he loves to play pretend with that. Like we have played movie theaters with that. We have played, home with that. And I just feel like those, and I think one year I asked my friends, nothing with battery, because I was being like a crazy first time mom. I'm like, please, no gifts with batteries. Like if it requires a battery, like I don't want it. And I think he was like a year and a half, or I don't remember what it was for. I don't know if it was for Christmas, for one of his birthdays.
For sure. This tracks.
Yes. And it was so helpful because I feel like every time we get something with battery, first I would like try to find a battery. It would make an annoying noise. It wouldn't really like serve purpose. He wouldn't need to figure it out. I don't know. It was just like, for me, it just didn't serve much purpose to it. But anyway, one last thing I want to say is also, I love the fact that whatever space you assign to the child or that play area is very colorful. It's very fun. So my house is very non-colorful, I guess. But now Ford has decorated his door with stickers. right? Like just random stickers all over the door. And I love it. It gives me such a sense of joy to see his space, that he has cleaned his space. This is his bedroom door. And he has made it so childish and playful and colorful. And like, it does bring joy, you know, to me. So I do think there's a good balance between having your home have a different aesthetic and then having whatever space is for that child, a totally different, you know, feel to it.
Yeah, we've had a lot of clients come to us and say, early on or even during an inquiry call, like, I really want this. My entire house is white, but I am ready. Like, this space, I want it to be really special. I want it to be really inviting. I want it to be colorful and fun. And I think it's just great, you know, and it is really, it's a total gift to be able to do that, to have the space and be able to create it in such a way that really like honors childhood and honors family time. Because it's so inviting and fun and different and unique, right? There's a lot of novelty.
I will say we do also get a fair amount of families who want spaces that are cohesive with the rest of their homes. And in that case, what we do is we bring the joy and playfulness in through shape and texture. Okay. So for us, it's also about getting to know the family and like what their comfort is, because it's your home. You're living in this space every day. And as much as we are designing for the joy of the child, we are also designing for the joy of the adult and the caretaker of that child. We want them to feel as invited into that space as their children are, and as magical as it feels for everyone. And so for us, it is really just about figuring out, where is that line? Are you like bright and bold, we're going to go for it? Or are you like, I need this to flow with the rest of my home? And then it's our job to figure out, well, what is playful to you? Mm-hmm. And whether it's we dial way back or we kind of turn the dial a quarter turn, it doesn't matter to us. What matters to us is that we make it joyful, magical, and playful for every single member of that family.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I'm
so great.
Print out one of your playrooms and I'm going to put it on my vision board for this year.
Yeah. Wonderful.
So where can people follow you? Let us know how they can connect with you.
Yeah, you can connect with us on Instagram. We're at Instagram and TikTok. We're at Grow Playrooms. You can also check us out on our website, which is www.growplayrooms.com. And we do have a shop as well. It's called thegrowshop.com or shopgrowplayrooms.com. And so you can also, if you want to DIY, there's lots of guides and kind of color guidance, because we know color can make people feel a little nervous. So you can shop all of our products by color. And there's lots of things that we're adding to the shop over the next several months that we're really excited about.
So exciting.
By the way, if you're listening, it's spelled @ and it's GROH Playrooms.
I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah. I was like, I'm always just earbuds in. So spelling it out is very important.
Yes. And so that you remember, it's grow like, because of surprise and delayed.
I love that. Thank you, ladies, for joining us and hope to connect with you soon.
Thank you.
For my favorite.
She's ready.
Thank you so much for your time.
It was so fun.
All right.
Bye.